when I give my clients advice, I look at them as if they're my mom, my dad, my cousin, my sibling, my best friend, because I know what it's like to be in their shoes. Being an immigrant is scary.
Anita Koumriqian, thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fantastic as well. Did I get the name right, first of all?
Anita Koumriqian, yes, that's the American way of saying it.
Wonderful. And where are you from?
I was born in Iraq, but I'm actually Armenian.
Okay, wow. So,
Hmm.
we're talking right now from the offices, Alcorn offices, right?
Correct. Alcorn Immigration Law. We're located in Mountain View, California.
So, I got to speak to quite a few lawyers through this show, but this is going to be a special episode because I'm going to learn all about immigration law, and specifically immigration law in the context also of Silicon Valley, which is hugely relevant, especially nowadays. And I'd love to talk about how it's impacted during COVID, how it's
Hmm.
changed over, perhaps past the last decade or so, and I'd love to hear also your story about why you're working in immigration law. There's a lot of different places in law, especially in Silicon Valley. So, how about we get started? Talk to me a little bit about your journey and how you found yourself working in immigration law.
Sure. So, as I mentioned earlier, I'm an immigrant myself. I was born in Iraq, and my family moved over to the United States in 1995. My parents decided to make sure that my two older sisters and I could live an American dream, where we would leave a war-ridden country and come to the United States. On the 20-year anniversary of us being in the United States, I graduated from law schools to really live that American dream. So growing up, I've always known I wanted to do something to help people. And when I was younger, it was always, oh, maybe I'll be a doctor. Maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. And it was about the seventh grade. I was 12 years old. I thought to myself, I see so many of my family members, so many of the people in my community kind of struggle through the immigration field of like, do we need a lawyer? Oh, I became a citizen. I'm getting my green card, all of this. And I kind of told myself, my parents, and I was super young, so I really didn't know. My parents came to the United States, struggled, um, to get us here today, so that we can live our American dream. I'm going to make my parents proud, go to school, educate myself as much as I can so that I can help people like my family when we first moved to the United States. So, um, finished school, obviously. I went to UCLA for undergrad, Santa Clara Law for law school, and joined the immigration field. And that's what I'm passionate about. I absolutely love it. I have experience practicing family law as well, so divorces and all of that. And it's. I'm glad that I've done it. I'm glad I have it in my pocket of experience and knowledge. But I love immigration.
So, can you give me a little bit of context as to the immigration situation in the United States? I know that it's a very popular topic of debate, especially in politics,
Hmm.
but I'd love to understand a little bit better. What is the immigration situation in the United States? The United States is known as a country that hosts a lot of immigrants from all over the world. This American dream. I'm originally from Israel, even though I was specifically born in the U.S., but a lot of my friends are immigrants to the U.S. So, talk to me a little bit about what's happening.
So right now, well, for the past 4 years, it's been very very up and down immigration. Everybody for the longest time has built the concept of the American dream. We want to come to the United States and join the melting pot, and that's really transformed over time, especially now as America becomes less and less immigrant friendly, unfortunately. But there's still hope. That's what I tell people every day. Especially now, there's still hope. It just requires some creativity of kind of thinking outside of the box of, if we can't get you into the United States with this type of visa or this type of green card, let's think how else we can work with you to get you into the United States. Every presidential candidacy has their own agendas in terms of immigration. Some are better than others, and being in the immigration field, you kind of have to learn to go with the flow and
Every
see.
4 years they have to adapt.
Every 4 years, sometimes 8 years, and yeah, you have to adapt. You have to learn to sometimes go with the punches and swerve around them. Since March specifically and COVID, it's been especially difficult. In my years of being an immigration attorney, there's never been such a volatile time to be an immigration attorney, where I feel like every single day we kind of have to keep our ears peeled to see, is there something new going on? Is there a new proclamation? Is there a new order? What can we what is going on that we have to let our clients know about? So I feel like I've partially also turned into a journalist, where
Wow.
we hear everything and then we kind of try to put it in our own words and send it out in a newsletter to our clients and people in our network.
So
So
for those watching, before we dive deep into more of the work of an immigration law, can you explain a little bit better why is there a controversy in the democratic nation of the United States, a democracy, and that the American dream is something that every person in the world, I think, learns about when they think of the United States. What has been so controversial about immigration over the past several decades, and why is it even an issue?
I mean, it's an issue because in my opinion, it's a silly issue, but it's the fear, it's the protection of American jobs. Really, it's the protection of our economy, of people coming to the United States, whether it be legally or illegally, and taking American jobs, which in every immigration attorney's eyes, or every immigrant's eyes themselves, is not a thing. I'm trying to stay as apolitical as I possibly can during this,
Of course, of
but
course.
um, it's just out of fear of protection of American jobs, the American economy, um, and I believe that's what it really stems from. So when with Democrats in office, there's a different agenda. There's a different mind frame. Whereas when there's conservative Republicans in office, there's a different agenda and a different mind frame. Um,
And so that's the adaptability that we're talking about. And then, so what is the privilege that you have as an immigration law attorney? Is your primary job helping people fulfill their goal of coming into the U.S. legally?
Absolutely. So, what our goal is, and what I always tell people at Alcorn Immigration Law, what we focus on is helping individuals come to the United States to live their American dream, regardless of their geographic location, their place of birth, what their passport looks like. We help individuals, employers, employees immigrate here legally, of course, so that they can come here, live here, stay here, work here. And it's that's what we focus on. Again, we do both employment-based immigration as well as family-based immigration, because they're both under the immigration law umbrella. They're vastly different types of immigration.
Right. So being in Silicon Valley, what is the difference between speaking to you that you're based in Mountain View versus if I were to speak to an immigration law attorney, let's say in Michigan or in Boston?
So it really depends on the immigration attorney, and the abilities that they have to work remotely. Right now, everybody is working remotely. But what we pride ourselves on, being in the Silicon Valley, is that we try to be as cutting edge as we can. We have to work with and not necessarily compete with, but keep up with the tech companies. So since the very start, or birth of Alcorn Immigration Law, we have been fully remote. We help people worldwide. I've had clients literally next door to our office, and I have clients in Brazil,
Oh, wow.
Germany, China, all around the world, which makes my job so fun because I get to work with people worldwide. And whether or not they're local or not local makes absolutely no difference to us. we have adapted to a fully remote environment.
But still, I'm assuming that the majority of your practice is people that want to relocate to Silicon Valley.
I'm sorry. Yes. So most of the time, it's we practice specifically inbound immigration. We do not do out immigration. So it's people coming to the Silicon Valley. Most of the time, it's the Silicon Valley. Otherwise, it's I'm moving to the United States. I'm going to work for an employer in Michigan, and we can help them. I'm going to come and join my spouse who lives in Texas, and we can help them.
Right. Is it really complicated? Is it really complex getting authorization to move to the US?
It is. It's complex in that there's always so many different moving parts, and there's so many different hoops that you have to jump through. Whenever I'm talking to clients or potential clients or anybody about immigration, I always tell them, what do you want to invest in, or how do you want to invest? Do you want to invest your time, your energy, your Google abilities to figure out how to file this application, how to get into the United States, and do you want to do it yourself? Or do you just want to invest your money and just kind of have an immigration professional do the work for you so that you can put your head down on a pillow and know they've got it, they're taking care of me, I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
So, I mean, call me biased, but if I were not an immigration attorney, I mean, kind of like with my taxes, I don't file my own taxes. I do not trust myself. I will convince myself that I'm going to do something where they're going to come and say, "Hey, Anita, you're going to jail because you didn't
It's
file your tax."
scary, right? And
It's
this is a life
terrifying.
decision. This is a dramatic, dramatic thing.
Yes, absolutely. It's vital to make sure that you're doing it correctly.
So maybe in a high level, without necessarily diving too deep, if I'm coming now, let's say I'm from Holland, and I want to
Mhm.
come to Silicon Valley because I have potential. I potentially want to start a startup and relocate to Palo Alto, or to Michigan, which is also a great tech hub. What are some of the biggest steps or biggest hurdles that I might have to go through until I become a U.S. citizen?
So first, the first step obviously is finding an employer who will sponsor you to come into the United States with either a temporary non-immigrant visa or with an immigrant visa, which is also known as a green card. So there are two separate kind of things.
What
There's
does that mean,
visas.
sponsor? I've heard this term quite a few times. What does it mean for a company to sponsor somebody?
So in order for somebody to enter the United States, whether it's through an employer-employer relationship or a family relationship, you have to file an underlying petition where somebody says, I'm a United States employer and I want that person in Armenia to come and work for me. I'm going to sponsor their employment here in the United States. So they're going to come and work for my company and only my company with this specific type of visa. And there's so many different types of visas. On the flip side, I can say I'm I'm in the United States, and I want my spouse, my fiance, to join me in the outside of the United States, join me in the United States so that we can live our life here. I'm going to sponsor them here to come into the United States. So it's that underlying petition, that underlying sponsorship that will allow somebody to enter the United States.
So it's
One there
less of a
once
financial. It's more of a. It's not a financial sponsorship. It's more of a. I'm vouching that I am the reason. I'm the sole reason of why they want to come here, right?
Correct. There's also a financial sponsorship aspect of it, depending on the type of status that they're entering in on. If it's family based status, then the individual, that petitioner, has to pledge. If this person enters the United States, I'm going to take care of them financially. If they obtain any kind of public benefits, food stamps, welfare, anything from the government, if they get that, I will pay the US government back because I'm their financial sponsor. So financial sponsorship is different than like petitioning somebody to enter into the United States.
Okay, that makes. And has this industry evolved over the past, I don't know, decade or 2 decades? So I'm always curious when I approach new industries that I don't know, and especially law, which in my mind I'm still thinking back. I'm imagining like a law school and dusty shelves and people are just like reading books and arguing in court. Has this industry involved immigration law?
Kind of, not really. Immigration is pretty archaic. There's the Immigration and Nationality Act that was founded. It's the law that that find or founded immigration. It was years ago that was founded, so it's kind of archaic. The laws, the rules in there are old. I think immigration needs it needs a home makeover. It needs a renovation, but it's so hard to do. Immigration laws change a lot. Immigration laws change often, and like specifically with more recently, in terms of financial sponsorship, there's a new public charge rule that was kind of buffed up just recently. It started in October of 2019, really started in February of 2020, is now off again and is going to possibly be turned on again. It's the new idea of self-sufficiency. When an immigrant is coming into the United States, they need to declare, hey, I'm young, I speak English, I have a degree, I'm going to come into the United States and I'm employable, I can work, I'm not going to be a public charge. So they need to declare their self-sufficiency as well. So while immigration is archaic, does kind of need reform, if you speak to any immigration attorney, at the same time, they are trying to adapt to the times as well.
So it sounds like a lot of the complexity here for immigration, and I'm getting a better understanding of this here, is that a lot of it is ensuring that, is looking at the economy. That's a primary factor. It's looking at how much the government will have to provide for citizens that may not be self-sustaining. And then I guess your role as an immigration attorney professional is to bridge that gap and to be able to help whoever wants to fulfill that American dream to show that they're able to meet those requirements so that they can get the authorization, right?
Yes, absolutely. And that's where our job kicks in. That's what our requirement is as immigration attorneys. It's our job to be creative, to make sure that we're on top of all of the laws. Ethically, we are required to do that. We're required, as an attorney, there's so many ethical obligations that we have,
Right.
but it's making sure that we stay up to date with the laws and making sure that clients do qualify, that and doing what we can to kind of be creative and nimble with everything as well, to get whoever wants to come into the United States into the United States.
How long does this process take? Because it must take years, right, to get this done.
Not necessarily. It all depends on the type of visa, or the type of green card that you want to enter in on. So it can take anywhere from a couple of months to like 2-3 years, all the way up to like 20 years. So it all depends on the type of visa, who's petitioning for you, and how you're getting into the United States.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about your personal journey with immigration law. What part of it do you really get excited about? Because obviously you started law not in immigration, so you went to law school, you go into family law, and then you
Mm-hmm.
transition to immigration. Have you always known you'll end up in immigration, or is this something that you stumbled upon and you said, "Oh wow, like I'm connected to this, and this is something I'm curious about"?
I've always known that I wanted to do immigration. When I first started working in the immigration field, I worked at a practice where we were doing both family based immigration, as well as family law. I did more of the family based immigration at that point, but I would always beg, hey, please have an immigration project? Can I do this? Can I do that? And then I fully transitioned over to immigration, and now I'm a partner at the firm that I work at. And I absolutely love it. And I wouldn't want to practice any other field of law, because for me, immigration hits home, and I get to work with so many different types of clients all around the world, and they are all such a pleasure to work with because they want to work with me because they get something good from me. They get a visa, they get a green card, and it's fun and super rewarding. As
As a
hard as it may be,
yeah.
to be an immigration attorney and sometimes kind of feel like the pinata of lawyers,
Right.
it's so much fun, so rewarding.
As a partner, do you still do like what are the differences and responsibilities between being a partner at the firm, being a paralegal? I'm not really too versed with how law firms work, but just to paint a picture of what your daily life looks like.
It all depends on it all depends on the firm, and how they work, how they manage. Partners oftentimes do kind of more of the higher end, speaking to potential new clients, doing more of the business management aspect of it, marketing, but sometimes also do still get to do pull up their sleeves and actually get to work on some legal work, or at least mentor to get some legal work done. Whereas paralegals, they're the ones, they make the magic happen. People
Yeah,
underestimate paralegals and how much they do. So I am so grateful for all of our brilliant paralegals everywhere.
I
So
love it.
they're fantastic.
So I know that I'm keeping you 1 minute late, and I know you had a hard stop that you have to run for a meeting, but I have to ask you the most important question, and I'd love to understand a little bit better about you through that. 3 words that you would use to describe yourself, and please elaborate a little bit on these words and why those specifically, because I know you've put a lot of thought into them.
Thanks. So one word I would say is passionate. I am so passionate for what I do, for the law that I practice, and the people that I help. It's that passion that keeps me going. Growing up, I used to always hear people say, Anita, you have to find a job or a career that you love, so that you will never have to work a day in your life. It's going to be fun for you to do. And I was like, that's not true. There's no way that people will actually want to work, but it is. So if there's any young listeners out there who are still kind of trying to find what their passion is in their career, it is out there. Look for it. Do not give up. I'm empathetic. I'm empathetic because I treat every one of my every one of my clients as if they're my own family members. When I give my clients advice, I look at them as if they're my mom, my dad, my cousin, my sibling, my best friend, because I know what it's like to be in their shoes. Being an immigrant is scary. It's scary to be in those shoes of kind of really not knowing what is going to happen with my fate in this country where I've worked so hard to get to. So you have to be empathetic. You have to understand why your clients are stressed out, why they're anxious, why their application has to be filed today. You have to get that. And I'm hardworking. If I wasn't hardworking, I don't think I would be here today. And it speaks for the approval rate that I pride myself on having. I try my best on every single one of my cases, and my passion and my empathy all comes into it as well. So those are my 3 words.
I love it, Anita. Thank you so much. This was wonderful. I learned so much, and I definitely hope things will get better and easier, especially for immigrants. I can definitely testify how wonderful of an experience it's been for me to have both my home country Israel, but also be in Silicon Valley and in the United States in general. And just recently when there was the big announcement that foreign students, when it goes online, they'll have to relocate back to their country. I was looking at a lot of my friends. I was looking at my friends from
Mm-hmm.
Africa, from the Middle East, from Europe, and I was shocked, and I saw all of a sudden how things were falling apart without their control, and it was very difficult. So I definitely appreciate your work very, very much. Thank you for the insights, and stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.